hello, good evening, and welcome back. I'm currently on holiday in Prague. Isn't that delightful? Anyway, from the BBC Trending, in fact, calls for a straight pride parade called Stir by Patrick Evans. 8 hours ago, the straight pride flag featured on Super Happy Fun America's website. And if you're taking Super Happy Fun America to be serious, then I've got a bridge to sell you. Obviously, they're using pink and blue with the traditional signs of female and male to prove a point of how ironic, or at least meta, that it is. But let's read on. A lively discussion has kicked off on Twitter over the merits of straight people having their own pride events. Planned by a group in Boston, US, to hold a straight pride march in August has sparked more than 45,000 tweets in the last 24 hours. No, we can't have the straight people speaking up and actually realizing that they're now the oppressed majority. In fact, that's the term that's used later on. The group Super Happy Fun America has applied to the city government to hold their march, and approval is currently pending. So yeah, they're a joke community, but they're actually doing things the proper way. They've got some resemblance of sense. 3 men behind the event include Don Hugo, who was the Republican candidate for Massachusetts' 5th congressional district in the 2018 midterm election. On the organized website, Hugo's quoted as saying, "Straight people are an oppressed majority." There we go. "We will fight for the right of straights everywhere to express pride in themselves without fear of judgment and hate." I am not keen of expressing pride for something you had no control over. I've had arguments with people about patriotism for the same kind of thing. Black pride, I don't get it. Fat pride, I understand that, at least, because you weren't born fat. You did actually work on not exercising, staying still, getting takeout. In fact, it reminds me of my apartment blog. I saw a guy who was kind of wearing sports stuff, and he was going out of the apartment complex, and I was thinking, oh, good for you, you know, you're overweight, but you're wearing sports stuff, you're going out, you're getting exercise, good man. A few seconds later, comes back in with pizza takeaway. I'm thinking, oh god. At least he walked to the door. I mean, that's something. As soon as they get drones flying takeaway, they'll be dropped off on your balcony or fly into your home. That'll be the day. And then it'll be like Wall-E, won't it? That's the dystopian future we're heading towards. Right. Another organizer, Mark Sahedi, is a member of a group called Resist Marxism, which in 2018 held a free speech rally that was outnumbered by counter-demonstrators. By a factor of 10, I might add. They had a couple of hundred people saying, "We want free speech," and several thousand people saying, "No." Okay, a bit more enthused than that, but nonetheless, that carries the sentiment. In a statement to the BBC, the Mayor of Boston, Marty Walsh, said, "Every year, Boston hosts our annual Pride Week, where our city comes together to celebrate the diversity, strength, and acceptance of our LGBTQ community." Why are they stopping at Q? I mean, at least they've added on Q from T, but then again, a load of the G's don't want the T's. Yeah. Maybe the L's don't want the T's, but the G's are a big fan of the T's, because the T's aren't real G's. We should use words instead of letters. This is a special week that represents Boston's values of love and inclusion, which are unwavering. I encourage everyone to join in. Join us in celebration this Saturday for the Pride Parade and in the fight for progress and equality for all. Great! In which case, why don't you do what I think it was one of the organisers said? For the LGBTQ, let's add S on the end for straight, because then we'll be totally inclusive. And then as the quote says, we can join in the celebration this Saturday for the Pride Parade in the fight for progress and equality for all, because then we'll be included, and we will have equality for all, because it will be a totally inclusive event, because straight people are actually included. Although the straight pride event has not yet been confirmed, it does not stop many people weighing in to criticise the idea. Mainly negatively, but credit where it's due for the BBC for once, that they do show both sides, in as marginalised as it might be. "Every day is a straight pride parade," wrote author Craig Wozniacki, arguing the heterosexuals' privileged position over gay people, or just the concept of their needing pride events redundant. It is funny, isn't it, how every time these sorts of things are mentioned, same as the Labour MP for Birmingham Yardley, Jess Phillips, laughing at the idea of having a day for men to raise their issues on International Men's Day, for example. That's in November. Put it in your calendar. I believe it's the 24th, but we can check that near the time. Of course, it's difficult to know what it is because it's never mentioned, is it? International Women's Day. That's March, yeah. Okay. Yes, well done. But yes, these sorts of things, they're never actually mentioned with any exacts, are they? It's like, okay, so every day is a straight pride parade. Cool. Okay, as regardless of intent, heterosexuals parade privilege across the country/world. Not to understand members of the LGBT community have continually fought and sacrificed what they take for granted. Like what? Do you ever think that if you're trying to empower a group, individuals, that kind of thing, that at some point you traverse the realm of equality and you transcend into superiority? Isn't that always the issue? As is the case with feminists, of course. I mean, I say transcends, but then again, that was the case with getting the right to vote only 2 years after men in the UK, I might add. And now, as I've mentioned before, that there's been a statue of a terrorist erected in Manchester, Emmeline Pankhurst, who caused violence for her political gains. And so, okay, cool. So men have the right to vote. If there's a war, we have the draft, and we have to go to war and actually put our lives on the line for what we wish to defend. For women, they get to vote. That's about it. Do they have to put their lives on the line? No, of course not. And there's outrage when anybody suggests that there might be. In fact, the whole Draft the Daughters campaign was another 4chan troll I mentioned a little while back. About Hillary Clinton to say she's pushing for equality, but then they take that angle, which would then be correct, and it's met with outcry. Oh no, because women are far too valuable. I mean, men are disposable, but we must protect the women's. And it's the same thing. You say, oh yes, well, straight people are privileged, and every day is a straight pride parade. So can you give me one example? What about is an argument in the negative for HIV, for example, which disproportionately affects homosexuals, and the amount of funding and coverage that has received in order to make it go into remission, HIV, and not even be transferable, because the advances have gone that far. But something like diabetes, which affects much more people and isn't always avoidable, that's the difference between type 1 and type 2. It's genetic instead of your own mistake where you've just outworked your pancreas. That hasn't had nearly the amount of funding. Obviously, thinking about curing illnesses, you can go to breast cancer and testicular cancer if you want to talk about protecting women. But yes, they can never provide any examples because they haven't got any, and they know it. Here we have another. I'll wrap up. It's okay. Gay pride was not born of a need to celebrate being gay, but our right to exist without persecution. Well, that's exactly the same as straight people at the moment, considering quotas and the male gaze, and that's with a Z and with an S. Okay, as Harmful Opinions pointed out, it was great. Would recommend, even though he's been banned from YouTube, and he's back again with another account. But check him out. He's good. He mentioned Candid a while ago, and that's what got him pushed off. So instead of wondering why there isn't a straight pride movement, be thankful you don't need one. Right, we were, until now we do, considering that we are actually being persecuted for being straight. It seems to be an issue that you say, in fact, as is mentioned by people like Dave Rubin and Molly Yiannopoulos for being gay, it's like, well, hey, they're fine with us, but then we mention our views and they're not fine, or they know our views and they're not fine with us, then we mention we're gay and they go, oh, okay. It's similar to what Tim Pool mentioned about being part Korean. But here we go. Final little thing. Eva Victor's video response. I'm just going to play this little clip. It says more than 2 million times now. It's got 4 million views. So well done. You struck a chord.
We have 364 days a year where we have unbelievable unspoken privilege, and then we have 1 day a year, 1 day where we get to celebrate having that privilege all year round.
So she says 364 days of having unchallenged privilege. Can you give any examples? That's all I'm looking for, because you can't deal with sophistry at all. You got to deal with the facts and the reason. But anyway, just to finish up, as the article is finishing up anyway, to try and show that the BBC is slightly balanced. They say most common mocked a straight pride event. Well, surely that kind of shows the idea of needing one? No? Okay. Others have stepped in to defend the idea. I'm gay and I'm okay with a straight pride parade, who had one user on Twitter. And this is great. I love it. Don't be hypocrites so much for being a tolerant and accepting community. And another thing, very much in the same vein, if you are against the straight pride parade, you are just as bad as any homophobic person, or it's another. And the BBC has approached Super Happy Fun America for comment. They might just get a gif of, what's his name? I can't remember. He's the one that Count Dankula uses to respond to any criticism he gets, and it's great. Oh, I can't remember the guy's name. He's the black who dances, and he has an amazing body. Anyway, that's it for now. So thank you very much for watching. I will enjoy my time in Prague. That will not interrupt me uploading videos every single day. Tomorrow is D-Day, 75th anniversary of D-Day. So of course I will be uploading a video about that. So come back for that if you're interested. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you next time. Have a good evening.